Buongiorno, buongiorno a tutti.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome. I'm very glad to be here with you, talking about a fundamental theme in the world of enterprises and consumption. We speak about sustainability. A theme AMFAO has been working on for so long. Last year at Middle, they launched the first certification program, sustainability certification program for eyewear with Strategica, certified sustainable eyewear, and right these days first few certifications are being issued, and I love to say that the theme of sustainability for enterprises is a theme that doesn't just have to do with compliance with regulations, which is important, but with the market, with the choice of consumers, because it meets the demands of consumers, and it's becoming a competitive theme that makes the difference on the market. And today we'll speak about it in a different way, interacting with you, and actually specifically Anna Zandanel, a consultant trainer, will speak about it. She's an expert at sustainability themes. Good morning, everybody. Today I have the task to speak for the first time ever in an official way the theme of sustainability in its various facets. We want to stress the importance of this theme for enterprises in general, but also for eyewear. Just like you said, Maria Luisa, it will be an interactive presentation. That's why I ask you to use your cell phones and to answer some questions through a website that now you can see, and the relevant QR code. Please scan it. Two indications. First of all, always leave the website on, because it reduces response times, and answers are anonymous. Please be as honest as possible. And the first question that we ask you is as follows. It's to understand the composition of the audience and the category you belong to. If okay, we have manufacturers, opticians, designers, students, and other, especially producers, manufacturers. Yes, manufacturers of materials, that's perfectly well. Okay. Many producers, that's good. It's a great pleasure. Also, lens producers. We don't have the category of distributors, but the rest. No, this one. Perfect. So we cover all the range as responsibility is distributed. Yes. At this point, I would go on with the following question, and I ask you immediately, quite bluntly, if you think you know the specific meaning of the term sustainability. The answer is yes or no. And there's a lot of confusion, so don't feel embarrassed. A lot of confusion about the term sustainability. That's why we're here today. Yes, good. Okay. No, it's quite well balanced. What do you say? It's a theme of awareness. Okay, let's say that there's good awareness, and there's also space for improvement, and it's a theme. We keep on getting informed. Regulations change, the general context changes. We know it, unfortunately, in this period, and it's continuous challenge from hour to hour, I would say. Yes. And we have good awareness, and let's go back to the presentation. Thank you so much. And now let's get into the detail of sustainability. The first official definition of sustainable development comes from the Brundtland report 1987. I don't want to give you a history lesson. We should simply take a definition that is still nowadays current and considered as valid, that says that sustainable development meets the needs of the present without jeopardizing the possibility for future generations to meet their own. And inside this definition, we already have the three areas of sustainability, that is to say, environmental sustainability, social sustainability, and economic sustainability. Unfortunately, in the last period of time, we associate the term sustainability to just the environment, but it's not so. And I want to stress it because we don't speak about sustainability just in the context of the environment, but also in terms of people, but also in terms of the economy and governance, which is what makes the other two possible. And these three areas, environment, society, and economy, are present in ESG criteria, environmental, social, governance. And the other only definition, and then I will stop with notions, promise, has to do with circular economy. What's a circular economy? We hear so much about it, and especially circular products. A circular economy is a model of production and consumption whose main objective is to reduce waste to the minimum in the production process, but also at the end of the life of the product itself. How? By considering it in a circular fashion from the beginning. We cannot think of applying this concept to a product downstream, but you should think about it from the upstream process. So, why today, February 10th, 2025, are we here talking about sustainability? I'd like to give you an overview inside such three areas, the environment, and I give you data on climate. Research carried out last year says that 85% of people was in contact with the effects of climate change, which didn't happen simply 10-15 years ago. And everything was confined to certain geographical areas. And however, data tell us that there's a reason for it, why 85% of people have to tackle climate change and the effects therefrom stemming. The explosion of GHG gas. I don't say it, data say it. Since the 40s onwards, you have this explosion, greenhouse gases, GHG. And this has led to the growth of natural disasters. Basically, we are in Italy, and up until some years ago, we didn't get to know disasters that were perhaps far from us. They were considered to be less obvious, less evident. This is Bologna, September last year. In 2 days, you had the same millimeters of rain, just like the previous year, all of the previous year, causing architectural damage, but also causing problems for people, victims. Valencia, then October, the following month. And the sum of the same millimeters of Bologna fell in just 4 hours, and it hit the headlines, and everybody saw what happened. I might go on speaking about wildfires, hailstorms. And 10-15 years ago, it was not so. And getting to the social criterion, data available are many. 1.5% of the world population holds almost half of the richness of the planet. The Brundtland report that gave the first definition of sustainable development identified a big disparity between the north and the south of the world, between part of the world that had access to more richness and the other one that didn't have. Unfortunately, this social disparity didn't end
This is the pyramid of the data book of last year, showing what I said. The top of the pyramid is the 1.5% of the population, while the bottom of the pyramid, that is 39.5%, has only 0.5% of the wealth. So disparity has become even worse. But social sustainability is not only so. We do not have a precise definition of social sustainability. There are plenty of words and concepts that, based on the geopolitical background, change in meaning. Adequate salaries, equal opportunities, human well-being. So the social size of sustainability is increasingly important and is described with many different words. Sometimes in specific countries, working conditions will be more important than other aspects. Okay, we have done an overview vis-à-vis the environment and society. How much do you think sustainability is a priority for the future of the eyewear industry? So, you should probably see the QR code if your laptop or PC are on, so that we can see the answers. A lot. We are all supposed to do something. So eyewear industry has nothing to do with sustainability. I do not want to know who has given this answer, but I think that at the end of the presentation probably they will think differently. So besides the different industries, sustainability as a topic and social sustainability has a lot to do with markets, because if we have a wider consumer group, then we also consider the impact it has on public spending and on climate and consumption as well. So all these elements, all these features are interconnected. Regulations, the geopolitical background, the economic background have an impact on the consumer attitude, in addition to the idea that they are doing something good for the environment. So sustainability is also based on the principle of awareness. Those who know can bring about sustainability, but this awareness must be reinforced. Since we're talking about the eyewear industry, let's see what happens in this field. We don't have that much data available for the eyewear industry. So a research was carried out by Eastman in 2022. So Eastman is a company manufacturing materials, so we will find specific references to materials. What are the findings of this research? Only 10% of consumers has found a sustainable pair of glasses easily. 75% would like brand and stores to sell glasses made from sustainable material. So I explained why they are talking about materials, but there are other reasons. Businesses, companies in general, when they focus on product sustainability, they tend to focus on materials first. It is quite easy to use the same production process and also to choose sustainable materials. This is good, but it is not enough. It is not the only path to follow. And as I said, we can talk about processes and also planning criteria, design criteria. And the choice of material is one of the elements, not the only one, of course. Sustainability, according to this research, highlights main purchase drivers: quality, durability, aesthetics, and the performance. I would like to say something that is key. There is no sustainability without quality. So I would like you to understand the message. So if we have a more sustainable material and I make glass that doesn't last that long, this is not a sustainable product, because sustainable products must last in time. It is not enough to use recycled material. I would like also to share with you a broader view. Glasses are medical devices, but also fashionable items. What about sustainable fashion? Sustainable fashion will probably increase by 10% in the next few years. Last year, it generated $230 billion in the second-hand sector. So quality is the top element. Since eyeglasses are fashion accessories, I know that the producers have received different briefings by the big names in the eyewear industry. So let's see the 8 topics of the Center for Sustainability based in London. The words used for sustainability: climate changes. So fashion is the most polluting sector, the second most polluting sector in the world. In 2023, the emission of GHG gases was extremely significant. Then are you wearing a cotton t-shirt, a white cotton t-shirt now? Well, you have to know that it is necessary to have 27,000 liters of water for one t-shirt. Fast fashion caused an increase in synthetic fibers that you will notice when you wash the items. So 50 million bottles of plastic. It is as though 50 million bottles of plastics were released in the ocean every year. These microplastics are a very serious problem. I will show you a video made for a research carried out in Australia, and through this video you will see what's happening.
Questa settimana mangerete.
This week you will eat a pen. Plastic is everywhere. Plastic does not disappear. It becomes smaller. It is in the food we eat, the air we breathe, the water we drink. We are all probably consuming plastic right now. The average person could be eating over 100,000 microplastics every year. That's like eating a credit card a week. A hanger a month. Plastic is in every one of us. So we have to do something. It is not a chance that when reading the sustainability report in Europe, the issue microplastic was included. Nature last week published an article saying that over the last few years there has been a 50% increase of microplastics in our brain. Apparently, 0.5% of our brain consists of microplastics. In 2023, an international research stated that microplastics in our heart are very risky in terms of heart attack. So we don't perceive them, we don't see them, but they are there. So hazardous chemicals and pollution. To grow cotton, 1/5 of these chemicals are used. Non-organic cotton. I'm referring to non-organic cotton. So land use and biodiversity. What you see in this slide used to be the Aral Sea, one of the largest salted lakes in the world. So in the Soviet Union, they used the Aral Sea to water cotton fields. In 40 years, the surface declined by 40%. And this, of course, destroyed biodiversity around the sea. Diminishing resources. In 2020, 64% of the total of fibers were sourced from petroleum consumption and waste. I have a challenge for you. Open your dress, your wardrobe when you're at home, and see exactly what you wear of all the dresses you have. Approximately 30%. So fast fashion purchases have increased by 60%. And 9% of all products marketed were destroyed before being worn. 600,000 tons only in Europe. Then, this is a very important issue, modern-day slavery. I don't know if you are familiar with that picture. This is the disaster that happened in Rana Plaza in 2014. In that building located in Dhaka, Bangladesh, there were plenty of micro-businesses for fast fashion. In spite the fact that this building was not dwellable, many entrepreneurs forced their workers to work there. Over 1,000 people died. So aid is not the same as we are used to, and this, of course, highlighted the problem of modern slavery. Slavery still exists. In 2025, for almost 50 million people in the world. There is a peak in Asia, but we have this problem also in Europe. For instance, illegal labor problem, not only in agriculture but also in fashion. And this is a reality that involves all of us. But I want to say something. I don't think that big names that are now under the lenses because of this scandal were aware of what was happening in the supply chain. But gang mastering is happening. This is why the European Commission asks for liability from the top, because people must be liable for what's happening. And also the damage to the image also impacts the brand. The brand must be aware of what happens. So awareness is important also in terms of the social side of the problem. We are lucky because we are born in the right side of the planet, but just out of fortune, the eighth issue is well-being, that summarizes all the previous points. The social aspect of sustainability is important. So I would like you to take a look at this slide through the eyes of an artist, Ugur Gallengus. These images are very, very strong. And these images highlight how lucky we are to be born in the right side of the planet, but we have to respect also the unlucky ones. Well, this was the end. I would like to see the beginning of the video.
İnsan insan derler idi, insan nedir şimdi bildim, can can diyor, söylerlerdi ben can nedir şimdi bildim, muhitine der akali görünürler.
Ecco.
So these are very strong images that make us think. There is plenty of research behind this video. Yes, and I have a question for you. In order to avoid possible misunderstandings, it's not deconsumption. We are not talking about deconsumption.
Il convitato di pietra.
And many important reports, the CAP report, for instance, talked about deconsumerism. I prefer to say reconsumerism, a way of seeing things. When we talk about overproduction, social damages, it is a different way to see production and consumption. So we have to adopt a different perspective. And what you highlighted about sustainability and quality is extremely important because they go hand in hand in both directions. So the eyewear industry, we are number one in the world in terms of quality. So I think that producers sometimes advance rules and regulations. We have excellent productions in Italy, excellent products in Italy in terms of quality and sustainability. Well, I'm not a supporter of the happy on growth, but I want us to accept, to adopt a different approach. Overproduction has no reason to exist because we have to pay taxes on waste disposal, etc. But this awareness involves not only consumers, so that they carry out a better selection of products, but manufacturers as well, because they understand what they can do in terms of competitiveness. And thank you, Maria Luisa, because we are now approaching the third criterion, governance, the economic aspects. There are plenty of data I could have indicated, but I only refer to CSRD that is in place now, together with a number of things. 50,000 European companies will have to prepare the sustainability report. This is mandatory. So let's see a few guidelines, like the 2030 agenda. Probably you have seen it. There are 17 goals that must be reached by 2030. If well used, they can be extremely useful to develop strategies. You have probably heard about the Paris Agreement. That was signed by a number of countries to reduce the level of emissions by 55%. There are good reasons for the Paris Agreement. And what about the Green Deal? Well, this is a European law.
Noi dobbiamo
By 2050, we will have to be climate neutral. What does it mean? It means for companies lowering emissions, and it means offsetting remaining emissions, cleaning forests and the ocean, the two lungs of the planet. If we cut trees and we put microplastics into the ocean, it's no good for our lungs. And to support Green Deal, you have the action plan for circular economy. It has been made simple in 4 points. It was published immediately after COVID and then reviewed, but it says 4 fundamental things. First of all, you should guarantee design of sustainable products. You should raise the awareness of consumers with that awareness I mentioned before. Third, we have to work on circularity in production processes, starting from some to then expand them all and to reduce the production of waste. 2.5 billion tons every year in Europe. March 30th, 2022, the former Vice President for the Green Deal Commission stated as follows: it's just most sustainable products will be sold in Europe, and this sentence gave rise to a set of consistent initiatives amongst which carbon border adjustment mechanism. It's based on the principle the polluter pays. What happens? Europe basically tells producers, okay, you can import materials and also some finished products directly from outside Europe, no problem, but provided what you import should be developed following our criteria. If it is not so, the border, you'll have to pay a tax on the equivalence of emissions of carbon, and CBAM has been in force since October 2023. It's at an experimental stage, and you simply have to say what is purchased, but next phase, October 2025, will be different. And at the moment it is valid just for some materials and products, as usually happens, but then it will be extended to all of the products. CSRD, I mentioned at the beginning, an obligation to draw up a sustainability report. We know that there's an omnibus. There's a procedure of the European Parliament to help companies that have been overwhelmed by regulatory tsunami, but it's in force, and it says that by 2028, 50,000 companies will be obliged to draw up the report, but there are many more companies, voluntary companies. The regulation is important because it is looking forward, the directive. It's not just accounting of what happened, but it is based on strategies for the future, medium, short, long term. Then it asks companies that draw the report up to inform about what happens all along the value chain. And third, certification obligation, and it will be published together with the financial statements. And if you state something that is false, it will be fraudulent financial statements. And then CS3D, basically it asks big companies to become accountable for whatever happens all along the supply chain, and in environmental terms but also in social terms, to determine some way or another to create an observation channel that prevents certain situations, just like in the case of illegal work, illegal labor. And I have a design background. It's my favorite regulation, eco-design, and it has been in force since July 18th last year, and it is based on three assumptions. First of all, sustainable design criteria. As for fashion, and fashion at the moment, it doesn't have to do with eyewear specifically, but fashion. First forum to draw up new criteria will be held in 10 days specifically, and so they're starting to develop such guidelines that will be available from the end of the year. What does the regulation say? That it will be applied to all products marketed in Europe, not just developed here, but also marketed here, and CE mark products, all of them, will have the CE mark just if they are developed in line with such criteria. 2. Digital passport that should enter in force in 2027, and based on the profile, it will give different notions of product performance, durability, carbon footprint for users, use, maintenance, repair, and the regulation says that 3 years after first release, sustainability, social sustainability criteria will have to be included. Third, just for the fashion world, ban on the destruction of unsold items and returns. From July next year, it will be forbidden. First for large companies and then medium-sized companies, and there will be control whereby small companies doesn't become the dump of big companies. And then we'll ask you some questions, and first of such questions, if you haven't closed your app, you do not need to read the QR code. It has to do with the three criteria: environment, society, and governance. We've seen them all, even if shortly, but the question is as follows: which of such three domains can contribute, when it is explored, to the competitiveness of the sector? Yes, you can cast your votes. That's it. Okay. Almost on an equal footing. Okay. So, social. And also the emotional dimension of what we have shared plays its role. Everybody? Governance? And nobody. It's right to have the opposite soul, and it's the soul of democracy. Especially nowadays, there's a rethinking of green policies, Trump's decision, but also in Europe, you have second thoughts. And the more the debate becomes aware and full of information, the better it is. And awareness, collective awareness takes advantage. Social dimension prevails. And in my opinion, it can be dictated by the fact that up until now it has been studied less, social dimension, environmental dimension. It's a search for materials. I've seen at the trade fair highly convincing solutions in terms of sustainability, and such things perhaps have already been partly developed, while social dimension is still affected by the need to be explored. Can we go on with the next question, please? And this, Anna, proves the virtuosity of Italian manufacturers. The environmental part is taken for granted. They're already at step 2 of the path. That's a question just for manufacturers. I ask you how often your clients, distributors, opticians need clarifications about sustainability. Always, often seems to prevail. Sometimes, yes. Okay, we're so well balanced. I didn't expect to have such a distribution. Sometimes, really, often, always, it often happens actually that you have difficulties to speak about sustainability because there's a need to do certain things in the wake of such regulations we've just seen, but not having gone into the details of the theme. And yes, always, often, sometimes, rarely, never is the least selected, and putting together everything just like research institutes do, sometimes it means that the theme exists on the part of the consumer. And yes, there's so much innovation at the trade fair in terms of eco-sustainable materials, but also in the case of production cycle, eco-design. I'm thinking about end of life of the product and regulations, and for example, disassembly, separation of the different components is made easy so that the end of life can be accompanied, and recyclability. Yes, that's a fundamental parameter. Can we go on with the next question? Yes, for distributors. It's a question for distributors. And in the case of opticians, in terms of interest for sustainable product, growing interest, no interest. It's very interesting. And it seemed to me there were opticians, if we can get to the following question.
Per gli ottici, se avete mai
Opticians, have you ever promoted your products by stressing the sustainable elements of them? Yes, with good feedback. Yes, with poor feedback. I haven't yet managed products with sustainability features. I'm very interested in this type of response, also because we've seen that producers say there's a growing interest and so on and so forth. Yes, and here we get to the extreme of the chain, upstream and downstream. It's a path that requires time to be digested in a way, but it's very interesting. It's very interesting. I haven't managed products with sustainability features. I'd like to have details about it, and sometimes there's just word of mouth, or perhaps they don't know if there's sustainable products. It's also a theme of sharing of information, internal communications in companies, but also communication to distributors and opticians. Yes, we should act whereby the work done upstream gets downstream. We are subdivided, yes, with good feedback, yes, with poor feedback, it's on equal footing. It's okay, let's go on. No? Presentation.
Ok. Bene, e vado in chiusura parlando.
And I'd like to end by speaking about the future, because we've seen the three areas of sustainability in the time allotted to us. It's true that sustainability, I always say it, when you approach it for the first time, it might seem to be sad, a sad theme. It's not just this. And you have benefits, unquestionable benefits, when you adopt sustainability in a business. It is stated by Forbes Research 2023. First of all, cost reduction. When I go to companies, first thing, they express a fear of costs to pursue sustainability. It's not always so. There's a break-even point, for example, optimization of emissions, and which involves energy saving and better management of resources, saving for waste management. Second, more revenues and access to financial incentives. More revenues. We didn't have time to go into details of it. There's more and more. There's a market that devotes attention to sustainability parameters, and the banks pay a lot of attention to the operation of companies in terms of ESG, and it's starting to become a choice parameter whether to give or not funds. Third, talent attraction. IBM tells us that 70% of employees decides whether to work for a company and stay there, also based on sustainability programs. Fourth, resilience, and considering what I showed you before, taking on responsibility by companies to stay in the value chain of such big-sized companies. Collaboration is necessary. So adopting sustainability is also a synonym for resilience in this case. Fourth, but not less important, the fact that sustainability increases customer loyalty. We didn't have time, but I tell you that sustainability has also been a parameter of change in loyalty from one brand to another as an element of research, a market that devotes more and more attention to this. I thank you so much for the attention devoted, and I hope I've stuck to the time schedule. Before giving the floor to Maria Luisa, I'd like to end with one last question, which is very important for us. This was the first moment of meeting in terms of sustainability, but I ask you this question: which themes on sustainability would you like to be debated on this stage, perhaps next year? One second. It's the only open question you can write down. We will be happy to listen to you. Thank you for your attention. I'd like to give the floor to Maria Luisa. And thank you so much. And I liked the concept of talent attraction. It is connected to the youth and also young consumers. Don't forget about it. If we speak about Z generation millennials, there's a request for sustainable products which is translated into propensity to pay more for them, to attach value to purchase sustainability features, and research says that such consumers is willing to pay more for a product that is stratified as a sustainable product. While we see responses, and then perhaps Anna, there's time for a couple of questions from the audience. I'd like to remind you of ANFAO's commitment for the promotion of sustainability. At the opening, we spoke about the CAC protocol that is bound to become the new sustainability standard for eyewear. And there will be a program to approach small, medium-sized enterprises on the aspect of sustainability report, ESG themes, training days, consultancy by ANFAO together with Deloitte. And it will be up and running first part of 2025 between March and June. Anna, perhaps we have the answers. I see some answers, and probably we will have other answers below. Welfare, in-depth analysis on eco-design. Eco-design is back, it's highly distributed, and I'd like to take this opportunity to go into details of it. This regulation, which has been in force from 2024, the European Commission decided to define such eco-design parameters that are thorough participation of companies, experts of the sector, researchers that will give such guidelines. And we cannot think that all companies may have necessary resources to develop such know-how, and there's determination to help, and especially to have common path in terms of eco-design.
Next year, I think we'll have some more insight concerning the guidelines, new technologies, how to look for sustainable products for consumers. This issue needs to be further analyzed also in terms of certifications, communication through the consumption supply chain, and also through the research filters and e-commerce. We don't see filters at the moment, but see, this is quite an issue, because Zalando had the sustainability filters, but the filters used were removed because they were thought to be misleading. I think that filters should be used in the best way possible. They provide criteria to consumers on how to select products. So it is important to have the right parameters and guidelines for sustainability. New technologies have also been considered as one of the main topics. Just 2 minutes. Do you have any question or floor? Questions from the floor? But I think that probably people have to be need to think more about these concepts and these issues to sparkle the debate within the industry. So thank you, Anna, for your very interesting contribution. Thank you to the audience, and we'll see you next time. And next year we'll probably have much more to say concerning these specific issues.